A teacher in Norfolk who admitted having sex with 3 of his pupils has been jailed for 5 years. Brett Meads, who's 28, was a science teacher in Dereham. One of the students was 15 years old at the time.
The judge described Brett Meads' actions as an appalling breach of trust. He'd admitted having sex with 3 of his pupils on several occasions during the same time period. He also pleaded guilty to possessing indecent photographs.
Brett Meads exploited his position and abused his victims. He betrayed their trust, he betrayed the trust of the families, his colleagues and employers.
It was while he was a science teacher at GateHouse School in Dereham's sixth form college that he groomed a 15-year-old and 2 16-year-olds. It was his first teaching post. As his honour, Judge Barham sentenced Brett Mead to 5 years in prison. He stood in the dock looking directly ahead and showed no emotion. As he was led away, he looked across at 2 of his victims sitting in the public gallery. The Crown Prosecution Service was relieved he'd admitted the offences and not put his victims through a trial.
It would have been awful for them. They would have had to give evidence in court or by live link and essentially relive the experiences, going into a great deal of detail, which would have been both painful and distasteful.
Norfolk County Council has stressed the appropriate checks were carried out before Meads was appointed.
And it goes to show that even with those checks, we have to remain vigilant for people that are devious, as he was devious in targeting the young girls.
In his defence, the court heard he was of previous good character. He'd pleaded guilty at the earliest opportunity, but admitted he'd stepped over the line between teacher and pupil. He's been sentenced to 5 years in jail and banned from having any unsupervised contact with a child under the age of 18 for 15 years. Debbie Tubby, BBC Look East, Norwich Crown Court.
A man has appeared in court in Norwich accused of a double murder. 44-year-old John Moody, who lives in Kerrison Road, was charged last night. Kenneth Snell and Karen Brown were stabbed to death in Brettingham Avenue on Saturday. The future of day centres for the elderly in Norfolk is unclear tonight. Today, councillors discussed a plan to close 3 and change other services. But the people who use them say they will feel lost without them.
Well, lovely friends, lovely meal and games, and transport. It does mean a lot for us if we can't get anywhere else, you know.
Peggy, Nora and Greta come to the day centre twice a week. The hours spent here offer their carers some respite and the ladies a lot of fun.
We have lovely times, you know, and that's just something we wouldn't have. I only come twice a week, some of them come every day, so I don't know what they're going to do if they do close it.
At Norfolk County Hall, a meeting on just that, closing 3 day centres and changing the role of the others. Elderly people could instead be given a personal budget to spend on their chosen activities.
Oh, it would be dreadful. It would be really dreadful for all of us because they'd just sit indoors and that's the end.
But the council says it has cost pressures. It wants the voluntary and independent sectors to get involved with daycare.
Resources are always tight, and what we're doing is looking in the context of that at how we use our resources to best effect, to focus on people with the greatest level of need. So people, those very vulnerable people with a degree of dementia, and also services to help re-able people, to make people more independent.
The proposals go before Cabinet on Monday before an 8-week consultation, so the ladies can enjoy each other's company for a little while yet. And Janet Gadgill, BBC Look East, Norwich.
Residents of a Norfolk village have seen part of their council tax bill rise to cover the cost of dealing with complaints. Roughton Parish Council voted on an increase of £37 last night. The council received a bill of more than £20,000 when a local resident made more than 60 complaints about a play area. Health trusts are offering young people in Norfolk and North Suffolk a £5 shopping voucher if they're tested for the sexually transmitted disease chlamydia. The voucher, valid at stores including New Look, Boots and Comet, will be given to the first 1,000 people aged 15 to 24 to be tested in a new campaign. Ipswich Town lost £10 million last year, up £6 million from the previous 12 months. The club puts it down to an increase in wages, which are up to £12 million. Owner Marcus Evans, who's worth a reported £400 million, invested heavily in Town's push for promotion last season.
An unnamed consortium has made a written offer to buy Southend United. The club is facing a High Court hearing tomorrow where they could be placed into administration because of unpaid taxes of more than £2 million.
Work on the training ground continues, but the real job is off the field. Supporters at last Friday's game were doing their bit to help.
We just want to know where all this money has gone. We want to know we also want to know how the chairman's got us into this state.
Considering Southend United is a fabulous team, it's a big part of the town, the people. It's very well supported, and it's a bit shocking, really.
The club was due in court last week to face a winding-up order for nearly £700,000 in unpaid taxes. But HM Revenue and Customs then changed its position, ordering the full amount, £2.1 million, to be repaid.
The first thing they've got to do is they've got to pay the taxman, and if they can't do that, they'll go into administration, which from a playing point of view is critical because they'll get deducted 10 points and will end up in the relegation zone.
There is hope. Today, a consortium of wealthy local businessmen, all Southend fans, made what's described as a nominal bid to buy the club. Chairman Rob Martin has yet to respond, but for a last-minute buyout, he'll be switching his seat at Roots Hall for one in the High Court tomorrow, where Southend's fate will be decided. Tom Williams, BBC Look East.
A progress report has been released on a special school which caters for boys with behavioural problems. It follows another report earlier this year which found the school had a culture of bullying and restraint.
It also said that children at GateHouse School in Milton Keynes were often bruised and manhandled by staff and taught in locked classrooms. At the time, Milton Keynes Council apologised to the children involved. Kim Riley has tonight's special report.
15-year-old Callum Smeaton spent 2 years at the GateHouse School. He has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Eventually found guilty of assaulting a teacher, his anger fuelled by the culture that then pervaded the school.
The atmosphere was like a zoo, I suppose. No one would ever go to classes, just run around and do what they wanted. You'd always walk around the corner and someone would be getting restrained, stuff like that. It's never ending. I've always been taught how to treat people how you want to be treated, and that's just exactly what I've done. But because I was treating them the way they was treating me, they're adults, so they get the upper hand and they do what they want.
I couldn't sleep at night some nights. You know, my son used to come home with marks and bruises all up his arms. You know, sometimes physically beat himself up about it because, you know, he was hurt. You know, school days are supposed to be your best days. And Callum was coming home being restrained for snapping pencils and doing silly things that he shouldn't have been restrained for.
The old regime at the school has been replaced, but it's proving very difficult to recruit a new permanent head teacher.
The report going before councillors tonight says no one underestimates the challenges ahead. Most importantly, bringing about a major change of culture so that children get a high-quality education, are safe and actually enjoy being at school.
Leslie Greenwood helped run the local ADHT support group. She has a 15-year-old son at the school and says things are getting better.
I've seen changes in my son, absolutely. His attitude towards the school, his attitude towards the teachers, and he's now more comfortable about going to school, which he wasn't before.
Callum Smeaton is at another school now, going to college to learn building skills. He's a less angry young man than in those unhappy years at the GateHouse School. Kim Riley, BBC Look East, Milton Keynes.